All right, class, in this video, we want to review the slope-intercept form. What we're dealing with now are more full equations of the line. And so this formula is extremely important. And as I said in the slope video, where you have the formula for slope, which is m, so this is going to be our slope right here. Slope equals m equals slope. This is the formula y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. All right, if you had to calculate the slope here. In these particular problems, I'm going to be giving the slope to you. B is what we call the y-intercept. So B is the y-intercept. And when you think of the word intercept, it is where it crosses the y-axis, where it actually connects with it. It's not just getting close to it, it's actually crossing or intercepting the y-axis. This letter right here, which this number in these problems is going to be huge, this is going to be our starting point. Now, what about the y and the x? These are actually points on this particular line. All right, so on this particular line. In future videos, we will work with calculating x's and y's. For now, we're just going to focus on m, the slope, and b, and actually using this formula, the slope-intercept formula, to plot these numbers. And so our first example, plot these lines, y equals 2x minus 3. Now, I want you to see that this is in the slope-intercept form. You need to be able to recognize it's y equals, here's 2. 2 represents the m. All right, so our slope is 2. Now, remember that 2 is a rational number, so I could write that as a fraction. My slope is 2 over 1. Now, what's my y-intercept? It is 3. Wait, hold on. That's a negative. It's a minus 3. So it's going to be a negative 3 as my y-intercept. And that is where we start. So if it's a negative 3, then I'm going to go 1, 2, 3 and start there. And that is how you plot these lines. You go straight to your y-intercept and you draw a dot on that y-axis. Now remember that the y-intercept is where x equals 0. So 0 and negative 3, that's going to be your y-intercept. So this is your origin, 0, 0. So when x is 0, whatever the y-axis is, that is your y-intercept. And then it's as simple as looking at my slope. Okay, so that's rise over run. I'm going to go up 2 and over 1. And all I need are 2 points to create a line. And so there is my line right there. I've gone up 2 over 1. I've identified my slope, my rise over my run. My y-intercept is negative 3, and though I started with negative 3 on my y-axis. Let's look at a couple more examples. All right, what about this example where we have y equals 2/3 x plus 1. So again, the plus 1 is my y-intercept, that's my b. My slope is 2 over 3. And so let's go to our y-intercept. That's going to be 0 and 1. This is my coordinate would be 0 and 1. You don't have to write this down, but I think it's helpful to realize. So I start there. My slope, here is m. I'm going to go up 2 and over 3. So I'm going to go up 2, 1, 2. So there's the plus 2 there. 1, 2, 3. I'm going to go this way, plus 3, and there's my new point. Boom. Okay? Now, what if we did this? This point is 0 and 1, and this point is going to be 1, 2, 3, and then, so 3 in the x, and it started at 1, so that would be 1, 2, 3 in the y. So let's call this point number 2, and this point number 1. We remember our slope formula. It's y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So y2 in this case would be 3. y1 is 1. All right. x2 would be 3. x1 would be 0. And so what's 3 minus 1 is 2. 3 minus 3. 3 minus 0 is 3. Look at there. There's my slope. That is the same thing. It's one way to check your work, but I also want you to see how these formulas are working together, whether you have the slope formula or the y-intercept form of the equation of a line. And so when we say equation of a line, what I'm describing is this formula, y equals 2/3 x plus 1, is the equation that defines this line right here. It defines it. All right? So let's do it. What if we did this? What if we said, let's look at this other example. What if I give you an expression like this, which I will, and I want you to write it in slope-intercept form and then graph it. What I want you to recognize in this is that this is not in the form of y equals mx plus b. Number one, the y has a -2. I'm not solving for -2y, I'm solving for y. And so the first thing we have to do is go back to earlier in the year. I'm going to subtract 6 from both sides and get -2y is equal to 4x minus 4. Well, then I'm going to divide everything by -2 because I want my equation to begin with y. So -2 divided by -2 is 1. 4 divided by -2 is -2x plus 2. -4 divided by -2 is a plus 2. This would be the original expression written in slope-intercept form. And this I can graph. I go to plus 2 on my y-axis because that's my y-intercept. This is a rational number, -2/1. That means I'm going to drop 2 and run 1. And there's my new point right there. And so that is the equation of that. That is the graph of that line. And so again, we can start off with a complex expression, but using the skills we've learned in pre-algebra this year, we can rewrite that in the form of y equals mx plus b. -2/1 is my m. Positive 2 is the y-intercept. So I started at positive 2, and I went down 2 because of this negative, and I went to the right 1 because this is a positive 1. And going from left to right, I have a downward facing line, downward sloping line, and that is a negative line. Guys, I hope this is a helpful review of slope-intercept form. Send me some questions.